Why do I need a man? You need a man to stroke your hair, to caress your body, and just to remind you of how beautiful you are. These are just a few of the tangible reasons to have a good man in your life. I'd like to talk to you further about the need of a man in our lives, especially African American women. We need our men in our lives because we have sons and daughters. Now, I'd like to talk about the role of the male in the family in relationship to the boys or to the young men. They need their father in their lives, just like they need air in their lungs to breathe. The father is whom they're going to emulate once they grow up and become men. When he's absent, our young men go looking for a role model. And whether he finds that in the street, in gangs, or just being somebody out there who's dealing drugs as a way of making a living. We don't want that for our young men. And so therefore, when his father is there, he has someone who will discipline him and who will instill in him values that he can use as he goes throughout life. I want to go back in time when our fathers was in our homes, and that was not even a question. We grew up in homes where there were mothers and fathers. So there was nothing called a single family. That's something new. That's a term they invented for the other people. Listen to me. Our fathers, or our young black men, or our black men in general, they were forced out of the homes during the 70s. This is when our government came up with the idea of social services, welfare. Well, part of the requirement was that if you were a woman and you received welfare, your man could not be in the home with you and your children. What a disservice they did to us. You know, who would do that to a family? Who would break them up and split them up and call that wholesome and call that healthy? They took our men out of the homes, forced them out. They were forced into the street with no jobs, and many of them had no opportunities. Yes, they could have gone to college and pursued their dreams, but I'm talking about those who did day labor and other menial jobs. They were not available, and they never intended for them to be available because the whole idea was to destroy the black family. Now, I don't give my brothers any rope or any. I'm not going to give them any slack and say, that they couldn't have done more. Because if anything, they should have fought as hard as they possibly could to stay with their families, and many of them did. Albeit they had to sneak around and go see them and go see their family and visit their children in the dark of night, but they still made it happen. And then there were those who took this as an opportunity to be free. They took this as an opportunity to be out of the household. And what they did, they went from woman to woman having children. And therefore we ended up with children spread out amongst several women. But yet and still, there was still no father in the household. There was no male role model for our children, especially our young men, to model after. And then there's the story of a young woman. Why does she need a man in her life, especially her father? She needs her father in her life because when he's not there, she grows up looking for him and longing for him. And oftentimes, this leads her into poor relationships. She doesn't know how to choose someone who would be a good spouse for her because she hasn't seen that being modeled in the household for her on a daily basis. She hasn't seen the strong male being modeled for her. She hasn't had him there. She hasn't had him there as a comforter. She hasn't had him there as someone to go and talk to about anything that bothered her as a young lady. So now she goes out into this world with no real knowledge of what it is to be in a relationship with a male. She doesn't have the holistic example presented to her, so she does the best that she can, choosing and selecting a partner. And many times she chooses the wrong person for the wrong reasons. Because why? The one person, the single most important person in her life during her adolescence is her father. He is her first love relationship. So therefore she learned how to relate to men based on her relationship with her father. Now without that, she is totally lost. Without that example of how to relate with men, what to expect from men, and how a man should treat you. The young ladies who have been fortunate to have their father in their lives, who's grown up with that type of example, are the young women who have been blessed to have good, strong families. And therefore, they'll be able to continue to model that type of family behavior for their daughters and for their sons. So again, ladies, I challenge you. Tell me why you don't need a man. Now, I'm not saying you cannot live comfortably without one, but when it comes to the family as a whole, you need one there. You need one for your children. Because again, it impacts their lives, it impacts the next generation lives. You know, it's not that what we do is a one-time event that only impacts us. It impacts us and all those around us. And again, I say especially our children, because they're so vulnerable and they're so impressionable. And they're watching what we do, not so much what we say, but what we do, the examples that we set for them, the way mom and dad interact with each other, the way they communicate with one another, the way they handle financial matters. Children watch all these things when they're growing up, and they themselves, when they become adults, they emulate that. Now ask yourself this question. What are you modeling for your children? Are you modeling this strong woman's attitude that I don't need a man? Or are you modeling the gentle side of yourself that says, I do need a man, I appreciate having a man in my life, and I know and value this man, and therefore I will teach this to my children? Ask Miss Linda. Have a blessed day.